welcome back on this glorious February Sunday morning, and I should really be out for a walk or something, but no, I'm going to work on the A2 and get in about it. As my old football manager used to say, get into them. So that's what I'm going to do. The first thing I'm going to do is put the VCDS on. I've been swatting up in it, and I'm going to test the fuel rail pressure. One annoying thing about this little A2 is that every time I get out the car, my leg pushes on the petrol fuel cap button and opens the cap. Just a minor thing, but a bit of a pest. You can hear the misfire there. It's only at low revs when you first blip the throttle, and once you get it above 3000 revs it seems to rev away cleanly, but it's still losing power. So I'm going to take it for a wee run, get it warmed up, and then get the VCDS on it. And the first thing I'm going to look at is the temperature of the engine. So click on engine, and the temperature is currently running at 98 degrees C. I'm not exactly sure what the correct temperature is for these, but I know they run at near boiling point and over boiling point all the time. And the next thing I want to look at is the fuel rail pressure. So it's running at about 60 bar. I don't know what the exact figure is. I'm going to have to look up on that for the 1.6 FSi, but that seems to be quite a good pressure. And I believe that when you switch the engine off, if the pressure rises, that is normal. I wish I knew a bit more about the VCDS. I'm learning all the time, and I only watched one video there and I got the basics of fuel pressures. So I've just checked the fault codes again. The ones about the random multiple cylinder misfire, the cylinder 4 misfire detective and the air intake system can all be related to the problems that the FSi has with the inlet manifolds. But the one I'm worried about is the P0011, which is a retard, what's it got, set point not reached, over advanced. Now, you read these things online, and as I say, I'm just not experienced in it, and I'm just winging it. And when you read it, they go on about a solenoid on the camshaft inlet side not retarding it enough, so the vehicle's advanced in the timing. And I know this, the previous owner put a cam kit on it, and whether it was like that just after he put the cam belt on it, because the last FSi I had, it was out three teeth on the inlet camshaft side, and it just would not rev whatsoever. Once the mechanic found that out and put it on, then the engine was fine. What I think I'll go into first is what I thought I might do all along, is just take everything off the intake side, clean it all. I've got new injectors there. Well, they're not new, but they're known working injectors, and that might solve the cylinder 4 misfire. And there's new injector seals as well, and I know it takes quite a while to do it, but it's not too bad a job, and it's something I can do. And I apologise if I'm all over the place as usual. It's shocking, Miss Moneypenny, but I'm just not into the technical side of it, you know, the VAGCOM. I find it really difficult. But what I am good at is just getting in about it, as I said, and getting in there and having a look at things. You know, you can see if a wire's broken, if something's dirty, things like that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get in about it. I was going to film taking off all the bits and bobs round about the engine, but the video would be about 6 hours long. 3 hours of that is looking for tools and bits and bobs. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you the bits I'm going to take off, and then show you it again once I've taken them off. Starting with, I've taken the pipe off here to the fluid expansion tank. I'm going to take these other pipes off. Then I'm going to take the throttle body off, and this part of the inlet manifold, and that'll let me get to the EGR valve, which is down here. Little thing's really testy working on cars. I screwed the cap off the expansion tank, and it fell right down the front of the engine. Can't get the damn thing out. The one at the back's always the tightest. That's the first inlet manifold slackened off, and I really need to get down underneath the car now, but I'm going to soon run out of light. I've been out here all afternoon. It takes quite a bit of work, both doing the work and sort of filming at the same time. So that's the hose off the underside. So all that you need to do now is slacken off these bolts here, take this one off, pull the engine forward, and then you'll get this part of the inlet manifold out. You've actually got to remove these two parts, whatever they are, before you can get the manifold out, so I'm going to have to do that next. So all that I've got left to do is to take the bolts out of this inner inlet manifold, and this whole unit should come out. I've had a look at the water pipe at the back of the engine, and this is the famous death pipe, and you can see it goes into the water pump there, and it goes into the thermostat at this end. And the thermostat actually looks fairly new, and the pipe itself actually looks fairly new as well, so I'm not going to replace that. Well, that's everything off. It was quite a job, but I knew it would be. Whew. There's a lot of these horrible little Audi clips around the hoses, and the ones that clip onto the electrics, and the ones on the top come off really easy, but the ones underneath of course don't come off. I'd like to personally wring the guy's neck who invented them, but it's off, everything's off now. I'm running out of light, so I'm going to put everything in the garage, get it all out tomorrow, have a look on the inlet manifold to see what the carbon build-up is like, and hopefully give everything a clean. So we'll see you tomorrow. This is everything you have to take off to get to the injectors. That's almost everything taken off, and the only thing left is get the injectors out, and they're held in with these two brackets and these two bolts. That's the injectors out. Got them 1, 2, 3 and 4, and this was the one that was saying was faulty. I've just looked at the tips of the injectors that came out, and they're absolutely manking. I don't know if that's because it was maybe running rich, but certainly they're not very clean, and the ones that I'm putting on, they look a lot cleaner than those. I've got a mirror down in here, and I'm trying to look down into the valves, and I don't know if you can see this, and I'll have to sort of shovel the torch around a wee bit. I might have to point it out in the actual video. Can't even see what I'm doing here. So all 4 intakes are bunged up with carbon, so whether that's the problem of it not running right in stratified mode or not, I don't know, but there's definitely a faulty injector. In the meantime, I'm going to attempt to clean out the intake valves, and I've been watching loads of videos on YouTube on how to do this, and the best way is walnut, I believe it's walnut blasting, but it's quite an expensive process. But there's So I've gathered together some goodies to do the job, and the first thing I'm going to use is the injection cleaner, and this I'm going to pour into the cylinders, obviously when the valves are closed, and I'm just going to let this soak into the carbon. Next thing, I'm going to try and use this brush. I bought these brushes to go into down into the inlet manifold, and also these brushes here to get right down into the manifold. But the problem is they're too wide. The inlet manifold, it's normally that width, but the problem is it's got a plate, and you can't take this plate out. And what this plate is in there for is when the flaps move up in stratified mode, they block off the bottom part, and this plate in here just cannot come out. So I cannot get this in, so I'll have to move to plan B, which is the cable tie method. And what you do is you just poke this in down the inlet manifold, start to spin it, and these sort of expand out, and combined with the injection cleaner, because these won't harm the aluminium, it should scrape away all the carbon and hopefully clean it out, you know, as good as I can. And these, according to the videos on YouTube, you can actually almost get round the back of the valves, so they're actually probably about the best tool for the job. So once I've done that, I'm going to use the gunk to clean it out, and once I've blown it out with the air bullet, I'm going to clean it out with the isopropyl alcohol. No, it's not for human consumption, but it's kind of like a brake cleaner, and I use it for my signs all the time, and it just cleans it out and dries it up. I might be drinking it by the end of this. Between the plate and the side wall of the intake, and just give it a little brush. Right, I'm going to go in with the cable tie method now. I've tried poking this in already, and I've had to shorten them a bit. Now that wasn't easy because of that plate that's stuck halfway down the inlet manifold. There's just not enough room to get these in, and when you do put them in, they just get all twirled up. So I'm just going to have to persevere with the little brush I've got. It seems to be doing the job, and I've also got a little brass one as well, which is a bit stiffer, which I might put in as well. So phase 2 is using the engine degreaser just to clean out the inlet manifold, and then once I've done that and blown it out with the air gun, I'll get in there with the alcohol cleaner and do a final clean. Now for the alcoholic cleaner, so I'll just spray this in. Just to agitate all the dirty cleaner that's in there. Get it dissolved and blow it out. Well, there you go, that's it all done, and it's definitely a lot better than it was. It should help aid the flow into the through the intake manifold and into the engine, but that's not the fundamental problem. The fundamental problem, I think, was a bad injector, but this will certainly help the flow get into the engine now to rectify the misfire that was going on earlier on. Right, we're back out this morning and I've had a wee look at the inlet valves, and they're definitely much cleaner and they've dried out now, ready for everything to go back on. And as usual, I can't help myself, I've just got to clean all the bits and pieces before they go back on. They go back on in this order. We've got the injectors, the inner inlet manifold, the outer inlet manifold, the U-bend on the manifold, the EGR valve, the throttle body, the high pressure pump, the EGR pipe, MAF sensor, and then the fuel lines. So just a wee note on the inner inlet manifold, this is the one with the flaps, and it's operated by this little vacuum here, and it lifts these flaps up so that the air is deflected into the upper half of the inlet on the cylinder head. And these plates that I'm on about are at this height on the inlet ports on the cylinder head, and these lift up, and in stratified mode it only lets this amount of air into the engine. And on homogeneous mode it lets this amount of air into the engine. So this has all got to work properly for it to run right at lower revs and at higher revs. So I'm not going to hang about, I'm going to get them all on and get it all up and running, and hopefully we've lost that misfire. Well, that didn't go very well last night. It just wouldn't start, and I noticed a big puddle underneath, and it was petrol that was pouring out. So I've come back out this morning with a bit more enthusiasm to get in there and have a look and see what's wrong. And it was pouring out from number 4 injector. Well, it looked like the injector, but it could be something else along the line. So I'm going to have to take the whole lot off again and have a look. Right, I've had a look under there and put the fuel under pressure, and it's not coming out number 1 injector, but it looks as though it's coming out the fuel pressure sender unit. And that's it here. And it's seeping out the thread here and then running along and down injector 1. So I'm going to take the lower inlet manifold off and have a look at that sender unit to see if the thread is fine. I've taken the inner inlet manifold off, and this is actually called a barometric sensor, which measures the pressure inside the fuel rail here, and it was cross-threaded into here, and with me mucking about with it, it must have dislodged it somewhat and caused it to leak. So the thread doesn't look too healthy in there now, and if I tighten it any more it'll probably strip it. So what I might do is just helicoil this and put this back in, and I might use some JB weld just to seal it all up with. Well, that's it helicoiled, and I managed to do it successfully, and it's in there really tight. So I'm going to put it back in now, and I'm going to put everything else back on, but I'm going to leave this overnight to set and try it in the morning. Well, here goes. I put everything back together, and I've double checked everything, and I've checked for fuel pressure at the at that little barometer switch or whatever you call it, and there's no leakage. So fingers crossed it's going to start. That is such a relief. I had visions of me putting up for spares or repairs, but that's it going now, which is great. I'm going to let it run now, let it get up to temperature, because I did notice a little water droplet underneath, and with me fiddling about with the pipes and that underneath, I've maybe sort of moved the death pipe slightly, and I know they're bad for leaking, so I'll let it get up to temperature and just have a look. Right, I've got everything put back together now for the second time. It's the first time I forgot to put on a little connector under the inlet manifold, so the whole lot had to come out again. So I'm getting a bit of a dab hand at taking this in and out now. So the last thing I'm going to do is fill it up with antifreeze. But I'm really pleased that it's up and running now, so I can get it back on the road and use the damn thing. There's other things that's got to be done with it. All the brakes need done because they're really badly pitted and scored, all four of them. And at the same time I might do all the calipers. But I might spend a wee bit of money on this car because I'm going to keep it. I wanted an Audi A2, and I've had them all. I've had the 1.4 petrol, the 1.4 TDI, and the 1.6 FSi, and when these are running right, they're really good, and it's my preferred choice. So I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm really relieved that this is going. You know, is that I'm Scottish, so I always think of the worst all the time, and I had visions of having to scrap it and break it for parts. But when it started this morning, I was so relieved. There's other issues with the car. It keeps locking itself. I don't know why it's doing that. That fuel flap. Every time I open the door, and it's now locked itself, I click the button and it opens the flap. You've got to watch out for that. But if you leave the back door open, it doesn't try and lock itself, so it might be the micro switch in the back door. But I have to sort that out because I've already locked the keys in it twice, and it's a good job I've had a spare set. Well, I've been driving about in the A2 for a week now, and I'm pleased to say that everything is fine, so that's great. So it turned out to be the injector, and also helped by a decoke. So the stratified mode and the homogeneous mode are both working perfectly, which is great. Although I did have a problem on the first day. There was a smell of petrol and the EML light came on, so there must have been a leak somewhere. I couldn't see where it was, but there must have been a leak. So I had to strip the whole lot down again and put it back together. That's 5 times I've done that, so I know my way around it now. So is it a job that you could do at home, any home mechanic could do? Well, the answer is yes, but you've got to be prepared to get skin knuckles, and it is quite tricky getting down behind the engine. You've really got to move the engine forward to get room down to work behind it. But at the same time, you can also check the death pipe, and this A2 has actually got quite a new death pipe on it, so I've actually got one as a spare now. And also the thermostat housing looks pretty new, so hopefully that's been replaced. So, you know, touch wood, I'll not need to go down the back of the engine again. We'll see. But there's other projects, other jobs to be done on this car. There's the whole of the front suspension. I've got it jacked up just now. I've taken off the whole lot. It had a rattle that turned out to be a drop link, but the strip tops are all corroded, so I've just decided to replace the whole lot. And I'll also do the rear as well, because the rear discs pads are all worn quite badly. And also, when I was underneath it, it's turning out to be quite an unreliable little car. The the front cat is new, but the second cat is leaking. So I'll replace that, and also the mid box is leaking as well, so that's not going to help it at all. So I'm going to have to do that, but I'll replace the second lambda probe as well, and that explains one of the codes on it, you know, but it's not between the first and second lambda probes, the readings have got to tally up apparently, and they were just not doing that with the front one being new and the second one being old. Everything looks original on that car and has been replaced. So gradually, bit by bit, I'm going to replace everything, and I'll almost have a new car at the end of it. So I hope it's helped anybody out there who's thinking about tackling this job. It is a difficult job, and you've got to be prepared to take the whole lot apart and put it all back together. One thing I forgot to point out is that when earlier on in the week, when I took it apart again, I put new seals in the inlet manifold side. There's new seals going in the injectors, but there's also seals on the inlet manifolds where there's little cups that push into the inlet manifold. So I replaced those as well, and that's maybe where the leak has come from. So as usual, if this has helped you, if you enjoyed the video, please thumbs up. Please keep subscribing, keep watching, and we'll see you again soon on the Garage of Dad.